This is a movie review. The movie is Doubt. It was released in 2008. Directed by John Patrick Shanley, who's also responsible for the screenplay and the original play. The cast: Meryl Streep plays Sister Aloise Bouvier. Philip Seymour-Hoffman plays Father Flynn. Amy Adams is Sister James. Viola Davis plays Mrs. Miller. Joseph Foster plays Mrs. Miller's son, Donald. And then there's a few more supporting cast. Alice Brumman's sister, Veronica. Audrey Neenan plays Sister Raymond. And just a word for note, the Detsu plays the zither, which we hear right at the beginning of the film. Now to the awards. And this was a very successful movie, but ironically it didn't win. It didn't win anything as far as my reading on it. It was all nominations. At the Academy Awards there were 5 for Meryl Streep, lead actress, Philip Seymour-Hoffman for actor in a supporting role. Also supporting role nominations in the actress category for both Amy Adams and Viola Davis, and there was also an adapted screenplay nomination for John Patrick Shanley. At the Golden Globes, much the same. In fact, all the actors had the same nomination: Streep, Best Lead Actress, Supporting Actor Hoffman, and Supporting Actress Amy Adams and Davis, and also the screenplay. And lastly, to the BAFTAs, once again same issue, only 3 nominations this time: leading actress Streep, supporting actress Hoffman, and supporting actress Amy Adams. So to the movie review. It's 1964. JFK has just been assassinated. The country is in a state of mourning, and we're in New York City at the St. Nicholas Roman Catholic School. We are witnessing a sermon by Father Flynn, played by Hoffman. He's talking about the concept of doubt and how the congregation should consider this in their own lives and how to handle it positively. Then we move to the school and we follow the 2 lead characters. Sister James, played by Amy Adams, a very young history teacher, full of energy, and a committed Catholic, albeit a little naive. And the principal, Sister Aloise, played by Streep, who's part of the old guard. She's very much into old methods. Children should be brought up in this environment in a strict fashion. The majority of the, all but one, in fact, of the students are white. There is one Afro-American boy, and that's Donald Foster. More on him later. But the issue at the commencement is very much the contrast between Aloise's strict disciplined school and how she deals with any misdemeanor, and Father Flynn's more compassionate, gentle approach to building relationships with the youngsters. Of course, we see a reference early on to the choir boys, and this child, Donald, is a choir boy. So for its time, I guess, pretty radical. Father Flynn, as I say, is a progressive type of priest. He's always quick to spot children who are in slight degrees of distress, and he takes Donald under his wing, so to speak. Donald's father is a ruthless authoritarian who beats his son for the slightest infraction. The movie focuses on the relationship between Sister James, Sister Aloise, and Father Flynn. Aloise develops a feeling that she's being undermined by Flynn's approach in teaching and caring for the students. She has developed a dislike for him and takes the opportunity of a brief comment by Sister James about the boy Donald returning from a one-on-one with Flynn in distress. This sets Alois off on a dramatic shift towards something akin to a vendetta against Flynn, and she immediately views the relationship as concerning and possibly abusing, although that word is never actually mentioned. And this leads to 3 major scenes in the movie that basically grapple with this issue and leave you, the viewer, to make your own mind up. The first issue involves the 3 main actors. They are involved in a meeting where Alois, supported by James's account, confronts the father about the issue of the boy coming back from a meeting with him distressed. This also there's a suggestion by Alois, even at this early stage, that of the vagueness about the possibility of what's going on. There's a tremendous tension in the room as Flynn listens attentively to the accusations, and he then starts to respond to the interrogation. There's one incident where Alois gets up and opens a blind which lets in the light from outside, which hits Flynn's eyes, and it's akin to an interrogation technique where light is thrust at someone's eyes. I thought this was clever direction here. But he challenges the assumption, shares the information about why the boy was asked to meet him one-on-one, and shares with Alois and Sister James that the boy had been found drinking wine as part of the sacrament, and this is why he was brought aside. He didn't share the information, he claims, because he didn't want the full imposition of his removal from the choir because of this. But Alois is far from convinced at this story, although Sister James is convinced. We leave that particular tense meeting with the father expressing his upset and making it quite clear he was not happy about how this had been brought about, and he felt that he was being accused of something that he hadn't done. We then see the next sermon conducted by Father Flynn, and the topic is gossip. It's a very cryptic response to the allegations, I suggest, and it was certainly pointed at the 2 sisters. And his delivery is impressive. What a great actor this man was, and sadly we lost him far too early. Anyway, on to the next meeting. This involved Sister Alois contacting the boy's mother, and Mrs. Foster comes in for a meeting. She's played by Viola Davis, and Sister Alois shares with the mother her concerns about the relationship between the father and her son. Surprisingly, the mother seems unperturbed by this, and shares the atmosphere that Donald has to live in with regard to his violent father, and suggests as such, because of her heavy work commitments and the poor relationship with the father, who's hardly a good example of maleness, that the boy is starting to develop homosexual tendencies, which is inferred. Quite ridiculous under the circumstances, given that the boy is probably only 10 or 11. But the response from the sister, and I'll quote, is, "What kind of mother are you?" It's a very traumatic scene, and excellently portrayed by Davies. And she goes on to say that in many ways, if the boy is getting attention, positive attention, care and a concern, that this could be actually a good thing, which again provokes the wrath in Alois. We then move on to the final scene involving the sister and Flynn, and this is where the verbals become quite toxic and abusive. It's clear that Flynn is now convinced that there's a vendetta to oust him from the parish, and he certainly gives as good as he gets. Alois continually refers to the doubt in his story, and she keeps expecting him to confess his sins and clear his soul. She keeps shifting the confrontation onto one of showing regret, being that she's already been the judge and jury. The result of this is that eventually Flynn removes himself, knowing that his time is up. A final comment by Alois: "I know you are invulnerable to true regret." So anyway, after this, the film really leads to an inevitable conclusion. But powerful scenes they are, which basically make the film a better film than it probably was. But they are so powerful that I'm not surprised that the nominations came out for the actors. The script was perhaps a little weak, I thought. There's also a final scene which is poignant, to say the least. It's now winter, snow's on the ground, and Sister James and Sister Alois meet in the garden, and Streep is brilliant when she confesses to the younger sister about her doubt about what she's done, which has led to Flynn leaving the parish. And her final quote: "In pursuit of wrongdoing, one sometimes must step away from God." And that sort of captures in a nutshell the notion of religion, I guess, and the fact that their truth moves considerably from day to day.